What up? It's your boy Wall Street. Thank you for clicking on the video and tuning in. Very happy to meet you. If you're returning, very happy to see you again. But what I want to talk about today is feeling alone. Because there's a lot of people out there. And a lot of those people on this planet feel alone, just like you might feel. And I've been there before. I've felt alone, time and time again. And I think what makes us feel alone sometimes is the feeling that we're struggling with something that no one else could possibly be struggling with. And that's a common misconception about the world, about life, is that no one else has dealt with what I'm dealing with before, right? And in some cases that could be true, right? Sometimes maybe you're just faced with something that's complex and unique and other people haven't dealt with it. But I would have to imagine that people have at least dealt with something similar, and they might have a similar feeling about, a somewhat relevant situation that might be able to help you, right? There's always perspectives out there that can offer you some sort of clarity and comfort, right? But the reason I bring this up is, I've had plenty of instances in my life where I've felt like, there's no hope. There's no hope for me. I'm done. I'm cooked. I'm cookies. There's no way that I'm going to get out of this. There's no way that my life is going to turn out the way I want it to. There's no way that I'm going to have, this beautiful wife and happy family that I've dreamt about. I've had these things come up time and time again. I would need hundreds of hands to count all the times that I've had this happen to me, right? And you might be feeling the same way, right? But let me tell you about how I've kind of mitigated this and, calmed myself down and felt less alone throughout the years when I've, been dealt with these emotions, right? So something that I've done is that, I think number one, a lot of these issues of feeling alone come from insecurity, right? And a lot of, today, people are dealing with insecurity that stems from comparison, right? So this is a thing that I totally struggle with, is I open my phone, open social media, and bam, there's, this dude with a six-pack, and he's 6'5", and he's got the supermodel girlfriend who's fawning over him, and he's got this nice $50,000 watch on and all this stuff, right? And I immediately, that's the first thing I see in my day, and I'm like, oh well, shit, I should just go back to bed, right? Because I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a $50,000 watch, I'm not 6'5", I don't have a six-pack, that's just how it starts. It's this waterfall of insecurity that happens from comparison, right? And the thing I could say obviously is just don't go on Instagram, right? But this can happen in real life as well. Maybe you go to the beach, right, and you see these people that are in great shape, and you start feeling self-conscious, right? The thing you got to remember is, and this has a lot to do with the feeling of being alone, is that everybody's dealing with something, right? Just because someone has something that you don't doesn't mean that you also have something that they don't, right? Life is a bunch of trade-offs, right? If you think about it, right? This dude over here might have a six-pack, but you might have something that he wants, right? So there's always going to be this unfillable void of desire for things that you don't have, right? And it's just about learning, how do you control that? And how do you not feel like you constantly need more to feel satisfied, right? And that's a lot easier said than done, right? It's a tough thing, right? And humans, I think naturally, at least in today's day and age, are never satisfied, right? And we get this, this thing all the time with like, David Goggins and all these other motivational speakers that are like, don't be satisfied until you've accomplished what you can accomplish. And then, even then, don't be satisfied, right? And I think a lot of people stretch that to like every aspect of life. That's not really how it should be, right? Like, yes, if you're trying to achieve your goals and accomplish your dreams, you should not be satisfied until you've accomplished that, right? Because that's what's going to keep you, pushing and going forward. Right. But that should not apply to like, your happiness in your family life. Right. If you have problems in your family life, then yes, you should strive to fix those and resolve those. But if you have a loving family, you have a nice golden retriever or a corgi running around the house, or a cat, maybe you're a cat person, you got beautiful kids, you got family, you got a nice house, all stuff, like you can be satisfied with that. Right? I think the difference is sure, you can desire more, but it shouldn't, like a lot of people get conflicted in the sense that they can't be satisfied, so they always need to have more. It's like, oh, I have this nice house, but I need a bigger house, and I need, a nicer car, and I need a hotter wife and all stuff. And it's like, these things lead to like infidelity. They lead to just, poor family relationships, poor friendships. Like there's a lot of issues that can stem from that. So you have to have some sort of balance in your brain thinking about, I can be satisfied, but I can also, be a rational human being and understand that, okay, maybe if I want something different, that's okay. I just have to analyze it and think about it a little bit more. Right. But, material things, that's also hard to be satisfied from. I think the real thing with material things is you got to understand, like, there's always going to be something new to buy. It's always going to be something more expensive. And at the end of the day, it's material, right? Like, most people aren't even using watches to tell time anymore. So it's really just like an expensive wristband, right? So, some people view it as an investment, like it's going to appreciate in value if you, keep it in good condition. And that's true. That's definitely true. But just understand what you're buying it for. Right? And don't just buy things because they're expensive, right? But let's get back to this whole topic of feeling alone, because that's just, my experience is insecurity is what makes me feel alone, right? I feel like my insecurity sometimes can triumph and, basically restrict my emotions and restrict my actions to an extent to where I almost lock myself away. I'm not going to go out because I'm worried that I'm going to go out and there's going to be all these people there that are better than me, right? No one is better than you, okay? Understand that. No one is better than you. No one is more, this or that or whatever, right? I truly believe that all people are equal, right? It doesn't matter what you have. Doesn't matter what you wear. Doesn't matter, how much money you make. Doesn't matter how good you are at something. All people are equal. That's it. So when you think about things that way, you're going to understand that it doesn't matter if this guy has hundreds of millions of dollars and you have, you're in debt, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, you should get out of debt. You should figure out how to not have debt. But obviously that's a lot easier said than done. But in the grand scheme of things, just because someone has more than you doesn't mean they're a better person. It doesn't mean that they're more attractive, right? Attractiveness is a subjective thing. Some women are attracted to men that, look a certain way. Some women are attracted to men that, present a certain type of personality or attitude, right? And some women are just looking for what a man has, right? And that goes for men too. Men can do the same thing with women. But attractiveness is subjective, right? So you got to have positive energy and you're going to attract the people that you want to attract. That's just, plain and simple, in my opinion. But if you feel alone, right, it's not about going out there and finding a girlfriend or doing this or doing that, right? It's more about if you feel alone because you're dealing with a problem, right? If you feel alone because you're dealing with a problem, I can assure you, millions, if not billions of people have dealt with the same issue, right? Depending on how specific and how big of an issue it is, right? It's probably happened before. Let's go back to the debt issue, right? Like if you're in debt and you're worried about it and you think it's, an indication of your self-worth as a human being, think about how many people are in debt. There's millions of people out there that have student loan debt that they're still paying off, and they're in their 30s, 40s, maybe even their 50s, right? And you don't want to be that far in life thinking that some sort of monetary amount has any indication on your value as a human being, because it doesn't. It truly does not. The value you bring to the table as a human being is who you are, being an authentic version of yourself, being the best version of yourself, and just, being honest, being truthful. And if you're doing those things, you're probably a pretty solid person, probably a pretty good person, probably doing a lot better than the majority of people if you have those things down, right? Just like being a good person, right? Because there's a lot of people in this world that aren't good people, and they find a way to be, do whatever they want, but deep down they probably feel alone, and that problem is a lot more difficult to solve. So if you feel alone, just know that other people have probably dealt with the same problem, right? And honestly, if you feel alone, I highly recommend you talk to a therapist, a counselor, and just talk to somebody. Like I used to be, kind of like resistant to, therapy and stuff like that as well. But it really is like, especially if your insurance will cover it, you might have like a copay of like $10, $20, whatever. It's very much so worth it, because you're going to talk to this person. You got to talk to them a couple times, right? I wouldn't suggest having one session and just be like, oh, I'm cured, because that's not how it happens. And also the word cured is not really the word you should use with therapy. Therapy is a journey. You're going to talk to people. You're going to talk to your therapist. They're going to get to know you, and they're going to be able to help you figure out methods of thinking and things that you can do on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, who knows, that will help you get into a better mindset. And frankly, just talking to someone and being able to be open with somebody, because therapists have to, keep, your sessions confidential, so you can be as open as you want, and you should. When you do that, you're going to feel so much better. Like you're just going to feel like you're getting so much stuff off your chest. This weight will be lifted off your shoulders. I'm telling you. So if you're really struggling with feeling like you're alone, go to therapy, right? And you can do it from your home. After COVID, there's a lot of, telehealth type therapists where they'll literally just, do a Zoom meeting with you for 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And, you'll be able to talk to someone about anything you want, right? Anything you want, whatever's on your mind, you can talk to them about, and they will help you. So my piece of advice, my closing piece of advice is, if you feel alone, ask yourself, why do you feel alone, right? Because if you just feel alone because you're lonely, that's a common thing. Like I live by myself. I've been living by myself for a long time. And I feel lonely sometimes, right? But then I get on this mic, I talk to you guys, I talk to the YouTube community, and I feel less alone, right? So sometimes you just have to find outlets where you can, connect with people, right? So this is my way of connecting with people when I am not connecting with people out in the physical world and, talking to people out wherever I'm at, right? But if you feel alone because you're dealing with a problem, right? Like you're struggling with who you are as a person, your identity. If you're struggling with, relationships, if you're struggling with, anything, right? Again, just understand that you're not alone. Everyone is dealing with something, right? But the difference between how you feel, which is probably down in the dumps and not feeling great, and how someone else feels, who, maybe is feeling better, can manage it, it's because they're just dealing with the problem in a more confident and realistic manner, where they can be like, hey, I feel this way. I'm feeling this way because I'm comparing myself to someone else, right? I'm comparing myself to someone who I think is more attractive than me or has more money or this or that. Take that energy and understand where it's coming from, and then put that energy, instead of hyper focusing and fixating on, why you don't like this person or why you don't like this whatever situation because of how it makes you feel, do something about it, right? Like if you're upset that someone has a six-pack and you don't, go to the gym more and start working on yourself, right? Don't sit there and just allow people to make you feel worse about yourself because they have something that you don't, right? And even if you go to the gym every day and you still don't have a six-pack, I guarantee you're going to feel better about yourself because you're going to feel healthier, your mind's going to feel better, all that. So if you feel alone, just remember, everyone out there is dealing with something, and that's not to diminish your problem, but it should make you feel like struggle is human. It's very human. And in time, those struggles will pass, and you'll come out on the other side victorious and a happier person. So that's all I got, guys. If you're feeling alone, reach out, leave some comments down below. I'd love to talk to you all, give you guys some more personalized advice if you leave some comments. And that's all I got, man. But you're not alone. I love each and every one of you. Hope you all stay safe, stay up, stay blessed, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.